Kathy.
Hey, Vinny. So we've been hitting them hard. We've been hitting them hard with some heavy cases.
We have.
And we're doing, for people joining us for the first time, go back, watch, because we're talking about stranger danger as we remember it in, which, heads up, we don't necessarily remember a lot about the actual cases, but we do remember the stranger danger, and we do remember, all of that great 70s and 80s lifestyle of running
panic stuff and
right. Yeah. And crazy cartoon, you go way back. We've hit Satanic Panic. We'll probably go back to Satanic Panic at some point because there's always more, but we'll save some for the spooky season. But tonight we decided let's talk about, first of all, like, subscribe, recommend, hit the button notification so you don't miss our videos. And you can also find us on Substack. You can find us on Spotify if you want it for just audio. And make sure you're following us because we want to rule the world. So anyway, but right now we're going to give you some real statistics because
we got the numbers, people.
Well, maybe. Sort of. We have some numbers. They might be right. They might not. No, they are as accurate as we could find. But we just heard that we just did John Wayne Gacy last week, and that was a true story. And that was a lot of horrible, horrible stranger danger. Although he's technically somebody. Well, no, that's not true. He did a lot of stranger danger because he did pick up hitchhikers. He did pick up random people, but he did also manipulate people that thought they knew him. But anyway, we're going to go into what was the real statistics of child abduction in the 70s and 80s.
And do you guys remember, those of you that are Gen X, do you remember in school the assemblies we would have and the warnings about stranger danger and the fear that we all had of the white vans that would pull up next to you and grab you and throw you in there? Or maybe it was a clown that was trying to steal you, or who knows, they might take you right out of the bedroom window. You have to be on alert at all times. What are the facts?
Right, because here's what we have. A stranger could snatch you at any moment. We knew that growing up.
Any second. You could just be in the store and you'd be gone.
Right. Parents believed it. Schools taught it. We just talked about that. Television reinforced it. Milk cartons reminded us every morning we could be snatched.
Missing
children. Which I think if you go back to our Adam Walsh or Johnny Gosh cases, we discovered that a milk carton never actually ever saved it. Nobody was ever found from those milk cartons, so they were just torturing us for no.
But they did give us something to read in the morning before school as we ate our cereal. We could look at that blurry picture on the milk carton.
That might have been the problem too. You couldn't really tell what was going on.
Really hard to print on like waxed paper, waxed cardboard is what's
true. Let's get to what we were being told. This was from places like, we were hearing this from TV talk shows, the news, and we'll go into that a little bit too. But one of the statistics said that 1.5 million children disappeared every year, and it was predominantly stranger danger. That is a freaking that's an epidemic of children being snatched. It wasn't even close to that. Then they went down and tried to make it seem like, okay, you're right. That seems unrealistic. So then over the years, they went down to 50,000 children were being abducted a year. And that was in
50 to 80,000, I think it was. That was the statistics I saw.
Yeah.
50 to 80,000. But still, that's a
ridiculous.
Lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids. And the FBI did investigate to try to get realistic numbers. And the FBI said that only 67 stranger kidnappings happened in 1984. Now, parents are hearing that 50,000 kids are going missing. They're not qualifying it even as, a parent stealing a child from a divorce or whatever. They didn't do any of that. Now, we did have the problem of over-reporting runaways when there were problems. But the truth was there were quite a few runaways. But it was stories like Johnny Gosh. It was stories like Adam Walsh. It was obviously John Wayne Gacy wasn't helping out the teenage population of thinking that they could be abducted. But right now, and I think this doesn't sound quite right to me. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said that about 81% of cases reported did involve runaways. I still think that's a little high.
Well, that was actually, I think I saw like 85, but the stats I was showing that I saw was that, like you said, there was like, what was it, 1.2 million supposedly a year. And the problem was they put everything under that same umbrella because they were trying to get the government to pass these laws, and they needed money for funding to get these groups together so that they could get rid of that. When a kid is missing, you wait for 72 hours. So they were trying to make it as big as possible in order to get the funding. So they took everything under that umbrella, which was, a parent taking their kid during a custody thing. This is something I didn't realize. When a kid went missing for a few hours at a mall or something, a shopping center, that was included. They never took that out. If a kid went and disappeared for a few hours but was found at his friend's house, that was reported and it was put under that same umbrella. So then they were like, look at this, look at this. It was every single kid that was missing even for 15 minutes at Kmart was also put under the umbrella of missing exploited children. So that's where that number came from. But then they were saying that it was actually like 100 to 300 kids a year that were statistically taken as far as a stranger abducted them. Not 50,000, not 100, not 1.2 million, 100 to 300. I mean, that's still, for those families, that's everything. But the statistics, it's crazy.
Well, and then you had things like and I'm sure you guys will remember this, you had the Monday night movie. Do you remember the Monday night movie? That was like the big TV event because we only had like so many, 3 stations.
Yeah, 3
everybody would watch the Monday night movie. Well, they really went on sort of a jag of, during Stranger Danger, they had Adam, which was about Adam Walsh in 1983. Now you have that going into every household. And this is a true story, right? So now there's like the fear that this is happening. They had, let me find, of course, I swear I had this in order. I don't know. I think I have gremlins. Research is being abducted. I want the statistics on that. Okay. Then there were ones, these are all Monday night movies. Kids Don't Tell, Children of the Night. So these were about runaways being actually abducted, which was probably more likely that if you were getting stranger danger abducted, it probably was these high-risk children over the person in suburbia. We've done a lot of young people, but this is one I do vaguely remember seeing on the news, the Atlanta child murders.
I don't remember that one.
You don't know. It was pretty traumatic. But I do remember some about that. But anyway, so you had all these things coming into your house, and they're telling you your kids are not safe. There are just strangers driving around in vans. There's clowns in vans. There's everything you can think of. just in bands.
Now, what was it that they used to always say after this started happening with the stranger danger thing? They would, what time was it? They would always say, it's so and such time. Do you know where your children are?
It was 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? They actually would say that on TV every single night. Parents, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
But can you believe it was 10? Just 1 second. I'm sorry. Now I'm getting creeped out again. I know I hate to leave you, but my dogs are doing something and my door's unlocked.
Okay.
I might get abducted.
She left us. Kathy's going to get abducted by a stranger at her door.
Okay, I'm back.
She's back. She's back. No abduction.
You guys are going to catch on to I'm a big old chicken. I really, really am. And so I started, the dogs were doing the weird little woofs, the nervous woofs. And then I heard something and I was like, oh, Emily left. And I guarantee you she did not lock my door. We're having our own trauma. I'm afraid of my door being unlocked and your iPad is
giving me issues.
Well, and then we had the other issue of this time period, which fed into it, which probably needed to change. Well, not probably, it did need to change, which was that crazy 72 hours before you even looked for a kid. Now, if this fear changed that was a absolute plus, because that was ludicrous. When you're saying that you have an 8-year-old abducted and they're making you wait 72 hours, what? That's insane. Well, so that was the best plus.
Well, I was going to say, plus with the satanic panic, you had people thinking that not only were strangers abducting your children, they were putting them in a cult where they were being a satanic cult where they were being sacrificed. So it's like,
you would think 72 hours is really way too long for your kid to be with a satanic cult.
I know. I mean, it doesn't take long, when they need a heart for their sacrifice, then
right?
72 hours, you're too late.
Exactly. So there had to be a happy medium, but nothing, I don't know, maybe in general in life, nothing can be a happy medium, but something about the 70s and 80s were much more extreme than other time periods because nothing was remotely like just sensical common sense. This is what we should be doing. No, it was either kids are running away, don't look for them, or they're in a cult being sacrificed. There was nothing like...
Well, plus back then, like you said, we only had like 3 channels. And if you saw something on the news or the newspaper, they led people around by the nose. It wasn't a political party. It was the power of TV. And then when you started getting these talk shows, people just assumed because they saw it on TV, this is real. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a pushback like there is today. Nowadays, it doesn't matter what the subject is, you can find alternating opinions about it. You're going to find people that will swear on this side and swear on this side. And you get to choose, you get to do the research, you get to determine whether or not this is factual. But back then, they were just like, 1.2 million children are being kidnapped by strangers every single year. Do you know where your child is? Of course, people are terrified because that's all they're being told. They don't have the internet to research. Mm-hmm. So where are they going to get their information from?
Well, I can tell you because I got my list right here. First of all, we know our friend Geraldo.
Oh, that reminds me. I don't know if you saw this. Did you see? It was when my son had his birthday, June 21st. I posted some pictures of him when he was little, and I posted a picture of him. We had gone to a Halloween festival at school, and
I did see that.
Grade, and he could not say Geraldo Rivera, so he called him. Geraldo Herrera. He wanted to be Geraldo Herrera for Halloween. We were the only parent and child dressed up. It was like the teachers were dressed up and they had all these booths and we would go to the school. I was Captain Jack Sparrow. He was Geraldo Herrera. He had a black afro. And
I saw it. It
he
was
had
so
his press
funny.
pass and he had his microphone. He walked up to everybody and he was just like interviewing all of it. He was interviewing the police officer that was there who could not stop laughing because it was just so funny.
That is
People
awesome.
kept going up to him going, why is your dad dressed like that?
That's so.
We didn't care. We just sat together doing our thing, and nobody else was dressed up, but we didn't care.
That's
So
hilarious.
we're quite familiar with Geraldo Hajera.
That is awesome. Well,
He was a troublemaker, let me tell you.
he definitely was, because he was really pushing. We know he was pushing the satanic panic, and he was one of the ones who was really pushing that your children were being abducted to be
He
sacrificed.
stirred the pot all the time, I swear. I mean, he was a respectable reporter. You know, he did that reporting for, wasn't it that mental hospital where they were just abusing all of those people that weren't even, you know, some of them had multiple sclerosis and they were just thrown in this place. And he actually exposed that entire, I forget the name of that place. And then he also did like war, you know, he was in.
Yeah,
like,
he was like overseas doing like war.
yeah, so
reporting.
people trusted him. People believed him. So when he got his talk show, it was just like, you know, what he said was true. They didn't question it. So his stuff was just all over the place, and they believed every bit of it.
Well, and then the other person that I know my mom never missed and did a lot of that child abduction, a lot of satanic panic was Donahue.
Donahue, the white-haired dude.
Yeah, he looked very trustworthy.
He spoke trustworthy. He spoke respectfully to people. He wasn't Jerry Springer. I mean, he was, you know, someone your mother would have thought was, you know, like I said, we didn't watch talk shows because they had such controversial subjects. Right. So my mother did not allow us to watch such things.
Well, another one that disappeared, but I remember my mother watching this one religiously too, and seemed very like almost like a therapist or something, was Sally Jesse Raphael with her red.
I remember her, but I know a lot of people didn't like her. Plus, a lot of people, I don't know her sexual orientation, nor do I care. But a lot of people felt like she was a lesbian and they didn't want to watch her because she had that really short hair and just her mannerism, just her way of dressing and stuff. A lot of people suspected. So, but my mother, like I said, she just wouldn't watch any of that stuff. But I don't know, with Sally Jesse Raphael, to me, she was more aggressive. She was more, she seemed to really challenge people in a very stern. She was more stern. She didn't seem to have, I don't know, at least Geraldo Rivera would show compassion. Visibly.
I don't know, because they actually said that she regularly featured families of missing children, abuse survivors, parents searching for children, and crime victims. And it said, it's interesting that you felt that way, because it says her show focused heavily on emotional family stories, which viewers empathize deeply, also reinforce the fear of child safety. So it's interesting. But maybe she came aggressively after.
Well, it was her personality. It wasn't her subject matter. It was kind of like, maybe it was just because she was being neutral, and to me it came across as aggressive. Mm-hmm. You know, she didn't show any kind of... Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
I mean, it could just be my memory of her, because like I said, I didn't really watch her a lot. I just never recall seeing... I mean, not that I expected her to start crying. I mean, she was a professional. You know, she's going to, you know, be like a reporter kind of thing. But I don't know. I mean, I just didn't really see... I didn't see a one-on-one connection with her guests. Her guests were legit. She asked really good questions. She gave them a platform where they could tell their stories without her involving herself. So I guess I kind of liked it when the host would involve themselves more emotionally. You know, to me, she just seemed like a bystander or somebody that was...
That makes sense.
On the outside looking in. It didn't feel
I just remember her red glasses.
Yeah, she had I know she had short hair and red glasses, and I don't know.
That's it. Well,
she came across as aggressive to me. I don't know.
She was also really pushing the agenda of, you know, this is just happening everywhere and whatever.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
she was real serious about it.
Well, and then we had Maury Povich.
Now, I like Maury Povich. I used to watch some of his as I got older. I liked Maury Povich.
Well, and then he changed all over to Who's Your Daddy stuff.
Yeah, then he was crazy. Then he became Jerry Springer.
He did, but he they actually say before he became famous for paternity tests, he did missing children, child exploitation, runaways, and safety awareness, but he was taken very seriously because he actually did work with organizations locating missing kids. So for parents, if he's doing this and it's on all the time, then this huge statistic must be, I mean, Maury's trying to help because it's just out of control.
It might have just been their voices, because Maury Povich did have a more calming voice, you know. I mean, and obviously if he worked with groups like that, obviously he sounded more compassionate. It doesn't mean Sally Jessy Raphael was not a compassionate person, but maybe it was just her voice and my perception of her sounding that might have sounded to me like she wasn't as in tune. But, you know, like I said, I don't know the woman. I'm not going to judge her compassion level, but Maury just seemed more likable.
Right. No, I think he had that, like, and he was married to Connie Chung.
I know, and she was such a reputable news anchor woman. I mean, how could you not believe anything she told you? I mean, she was the last word on stuff. You know, she was very reputable. So,
yep. And then we even at this point had Joan Rivers do shows. So there you go. Who knew Joan Rivers was doing shows about abducted children? But then there was
another woman that had a talk show for a while. I'm trying to think of her name. She was the one that had, I mean, it wasn't really her fault, and I can't think of her name. I think she had like kind of blondish hair like this. It kind of came down like that. I remember visual people. What was her name? The reason I think that she went off the air, she had a really traumatic thing that happened with one of her guests about the crush.
Yeah, it was Jenny Jones.
That's who it was, Jenny Jones. And I mean, but she had a lot more social issues. Hers was not so much, it wasn't as serious. I mean, she did have some stuff on there that was serious, but she was doing pretty well, I thought. And I thought she had a pretty good career going. And then she had that situation where it was like someone has a secret crush on you. But the problem was, it was a young man that had a crush on another man, a young guy that had been like in his friend circle. And this was back in a time when you did not publicly talk about your sexuality. And it embarrassed and angered that young man.
And I remember that episode.
I do too. And because I was just like, and even back then I just thought, that's a horrible thing to do on air, because this is going to cause problems. I mean, first of all, if he was gay or bisexual, he's not going to want to be outed on national television. And then, of course, he's got someone he thinks is his friend all of a sudden that has a crush on him. And if he's not gay, he's going to be really upset that it took this public stage. And then he killed that guy, didn't he?
Yes. And I remember also thinking, even if he's okay with it and he's accepting it and taking it for what it's worth, it's about when you get home and the other friends start razzing you and giving you a hard time, and then maybe it instigates something that he might not. If the guy had just told him that in private, he might have accepted it or whatever.
But they set him up for a huge humiliation on a public stage at that time when this was not something that was talked about. And they really did put the other guy at risk. They really did. And like I said, it wasn't her fault. I'm sure she's not the one that contacts the guests and sets it up. She's just the host, the talk show host. But
that was the demise of her career, though.
It really did ruin her career after that. I mean, there was no coming back from that. No one could forget it. It was so tragic and such a bad idea. It was just like,
it was such a bad idea.
Who came up with that? I mean, it's okay if you're going to do it. Like I said, nowadays it wouldn't matter. A lot of people would laugh it off if they're not interested, or they'd just be like, I love you as a brother, but, I'm not interested in you that way. They would deal with it normally. But back then, there was so much shame and so much, secrecy about stuff like that they couldn't do something like that publicly.
Yeah. No, you definitely couldn't.
I don't know. Back then, I don't really know of hardly any even famous people that would come out as gay. You're certainly not going to have a private citizen on a national television show just being like, oh, this is great.
Right. Well, and that was such a, the stigma of being teased. I mean,
plus he was like a popular guy. I mean, he had a lot of friends. He was like, a lot of the girls really liked him. They were really into him. And that's probably why he accepted to be on there, because he probably thought it was one of these girls that he hung out with that probably had a crush on him, and he probably liked all of them. And then all of a sudden to find out it's none of the girls, it's this dude. And he was mortified and angry. That's the thing. He was so angry, and that poor young man, that was just the worst. That was
the whole thing. It was really bad for both of them. I mean, it really was.
But I don't know if she ever did any of the missing children or stranger danger or anything.
I don't know, but yeah, she didn't make the list. But the one that was also very big was Oprah. So
I was going to ask if I know Oprah did a lot of stuff about child abuse because of her own stories, but I didn't know if she did a lot of stuff about the missing children and stuff.
Well, and I don't remember Oprah, but they said she, particularly in the late 80s, she did a lot about satanic ritual abuse and abductions. So she was really in this. I do remember Geraldo. I do remember Donahue doing the satanic panic and the abductions that way. But I don't remember Oprah as much. And for some reason, I thought Oprah did more. Well, I guess it would be emotional because she probably got the emotional angle of these families who have been tortured by cults and whatever.
Yeah, definitely Donahue. I mean, yeah, I remember later when I would see some of his stuff. I mean, his stuff was very serious, and that was pretty serious.
He was very serious, wasn't he? He was very we're really getting to the
yeah, he would. I mean, he was so credible and so serious that you would never watch one of his things and think that it couldn't be true.
Right.
So
I remember thinking that when I was young.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Did the rest of you feel that way? I remember sitting there thinking, well, this guy's on the up and up. This has got to be what's Geraldo.
Well, he had such an authority about him, not an aggressive one. He just had that, the authority that I know these things, I understand these things, and I'm trying to help you understand these things. And he was just like a doctor, you just automatically trust this guy. And so when he would come out with these things, of course the parents are going to be like, oh no.
Right. Well, and I think Geraldo, even though he had been a very legit reporter, he had a more dramatic.
Yeah.
Donahue really did feel like he was getting to the core of this. This was really bothering him. He was getting to the, he
was like a teacher almost.
Well, and I think, even if we go now, I think especially when Dr. Phil first started out, he kind of had that vibe at first, and he kind of went off the rails with
and then he just went crazy.
Yeah, but I think when he first started, he was enjoyable to watch,
but I don't know if you guys have seen some of the documentaries on YouTube about Dr. Phil, but oh my gosh. Oh, you should look into Dr. Phil. I can't tolerate watching Dr. Phil stuff anymore. I don't want to watch anything he's got to say.
Yeah, I mean, and he kind of did, but it would appear that Dr. Phil knew what he was doing or what they were having him do for the show. Unlike we're just talking about Jenny Jones, who probably didn't really know. He really set up dynamics for it to go really bad.
He did. I mean, it was really controlled. I mean, the stuff he did was all about theatrics. It was about the shock and awe of the audience and getting their reaction. And a lot of it was setting up the guests that were on there, especially if they had like substance abuse and stuff.
Yeah.
Literally setting them up so that when they would show up to the studios, when they went to pick them up, they were already high.
The one that was appalling to me, and this is probably somebody that all of our Gen Xers can remember growing up with, certainly was him setting up Shelley Duvall.
Oh, that was terrible. That was so terrible.
I mean, here you have somebody who is clearly struggling with mental illness, and he is just like taunting her and trying to get her to talk about things that talk about Stanley Kubrick and making The Shining and bringing up all these things that were clearly, and I was like, this is appalling. I don't know how. I mean, he really set her up.
Yeah, he was really hurting people that needed real mental health, and he was not even licensed anymore. I mean, he got, he did not reapply or whatever. He was no longer Dr. Phil. He wasn't licensed. He was a psychologist for a while, I guess, but he doesn't have credentials. There's a lot of marital stuff between him and his wife, and yet he would sit there and condemn other people. So, I mean, it was a farce. It was a show. I mean, that's what it was. It was like a reality show that's not a reality show. I mean, it's staged.
But, it was like people believed him at first because he was credible. And actually, he was directly backed from Oprah. He was originally started.
Yeah, I think maybe in the beginning, maybe he did want to help people. Maybe he did start out, thinking, this is going to be good. I can get people on here, I could do interventions. But then it got to where they got more views when it was more dramatic, when there was, it's kind of boring if you have an intervention and everything works out fine and everybody cooperates. Who wants to see that? They want to see people falling apart. And it was just hurting other people's mental health. And I mean, some of the stuff that he would do was so cringe, it was just like, this can't be good for this person. It cannot be good. You're not helping this person.
Well, and that comes back to what we're talking about, which is those numbers saying that 67 kids got abducted from strangers in 1984, while horrific, isn't going to draw the viewers like saying 50,000 got abducted.
Yeah, and it's also not going to get Congress to be like, oh, we have a real problem. We need to change the laws. Mm-hmm. They're also not going to be able to get groups to come together in the community to join together to try to fundraise, to try to get Congress to change the laws if it's only a low number. But if everyone's afraid for their children, which of course they should be to a certain extent, and law should have been passed, they had to go to extremes in order to do that. And it's not so much that they lied about the statistics. They just didn't separate under that huge umbrella what was stranger danger and what was something else. Mm-hmm. They just used that number because that number was big. Mm-hmm. And big gets attention.
Right. And kind of wise in some regards to get, but terrified a lot of children.
It panicked, just like the satanic panic. It was another panic for parents that were not. Plus, back then, a lot of us were latchkey children. I mean, we came home from school with a key around our neck and we let ourselves in, and there was no parents there. And we walked, some of us walked quite a few miles home from school, on the streets. It's like,
Well, and when you think about it, it really is quite, it seems very believable given how we grew up, that you had the latchkey kids, like you said, that these numbers would be really inflated because we were vulnerable. We didn't. I mean, I remember. So, and I don't think Aaron would mind. Aaron is somebody, my best writing friend, and we all write together. She grew up in Cleveland, and she took public. You took mass transit. You just took a public bus to school. There were no designated school buses, so they were getting on. Little kids were getting on buses with just complete adult strangers. To me, that's just mind-boggling that more kids weren't missing, because how long would it take a creep like John Wayne Gacy or whatever to find out the pattern of a kid going to school every day? They're going to realize they're on the bus at the same time they're easy to target. And so it doesn't seem implausible that the numbers would have been much, much higher. And I would argue maybe that the numbers were higher because they were labeling a lot of kids runaways.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, like you said, they lumped everyone together, because I think now, if what I was looking at is correct, now they consider family member abduction from a family member is much higher than even like runaways. Like it's a very common divorced parents taking a kid, or a family member thinking, so although I'm sure there's plenty, there's obviously runaways too still, but I do think that they were just labeling a huge amount of kids as runaways, that they really don't know what happened. Like,
now, have you checked the stats? Because I didn't even think to do this. Have you checked the statistics for now? Because I would think now, with social media and predators having such easy access to 12 years old, 13-year-olds, easily luring them out into where they can grab them, I would imagine there's a lot more.
I didn't look at that, which was really silly of me, because I was actually watching a YouTube about CrimeCon, which I really, really want to go to. And it's like the podcaster true crime thing. And they did we talk about this?
I don't think so.
Okay. They actually had a panel where they were, have you heard of Roblox?
Oh, yeah. My kid loves Roblox.
Okay, well, that is the number one grooming.
Yeah, they've made a bunch of rules now where you've got to do something about your age and stuff like that.
Well, they actually did a panel recently during CrimeCon, and it was Chris Hansen from To Catch a Predator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he was doing it with a kid who had been groomed through Roblox. And I guess I don't really understand because I don't think Emily ever used it, but Roblox is like all kinds of different video games, right?
Yeah, it's a platform, and there's just thousands of games, and they are changing a lot of the rules, because I play Minecraft, or not Minecraft, I play Roblox, and I play different games, but there's one little mining game that I like a lot. And used to, you could go in there as your character, and you could just walk up to anybody and just start typing to them. You could have a chat, but now they block a lot of that to where you can only click on certain sentences, and they don't even allow you to use numbers. Like, you can't ask someone how old they are. You can't have a private chat anymore. I believe they've got all that changed. You can only click on how are you, or hi, just real standard, simple stuff, but you can follow each other, but you're not allowed to send private messages now. And they also have age limits. And what's so funny is my kid just turned 20, but he literally looks like he's like 15. And he loves to play the little kid games. And he's, not that he's like mentally a little kid, but he's an innocent 20-year-old. He really is like a kid. So he just doesn't do somehow he's like gotten rid of that, because he just wants to play the games with the kids, not with the older people. so he can still play the game. He doesn't talk to anybody. He just wants to play the games, you know?
Right.
So it's hard
Right,
for
well,
him now that he's older. He doesn't want to be in that old person category.
well, and it was interesting because whatever game it was,
Mm.
the during the panel, the grooming actually, somebody came in and asked how old, and then somebody asked if you want to go into a private room and talk, and they're like, it happened right in front of showing why this is a bad, and they were basically, but I was thinking there's a whole nother level of grooming and abduction that we just did not have any access to. Like, I mean, you weren't going to, the most you were probably going to get is what you could probably, I guess it would be phone calls with somebody, like if you thought you were talking to somebody's friend who was, I don't know, because it wasn't going to be the same as now. Everybody's anonymous, so you have no idea who you're really
you don't
talking
know.
to.
You don't know if it's male or female. You don't know the age. I mean, back in the day, the worst thing you really would worry about is maybe some creepy uncle or somebody's older cousin. You know, you just got to kind of watch. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's like it's just the Wild West. So
Right.
and it's on so many platforms. Like, I don't know much about Snapchat, but I know that's a really bad one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so it is really interesting that now that's changed. So yeah, I need to look up that statistic and give it to you guys next time. I would try to look it up now, but
We got technical difficulties.
we're having major technical.
We're both like, I gotta plug this in. But it's got to be a lot more. I mean, obviously, it's got to be a lot more because we got a lot more people. We got a larger population, but we also have littler kids with access to social media that know how to use the iPad or whatever, and they're out here just, you know, doing whatever and believing everything.
Right, right. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, but do this one's going to be kind of short. We just wanted to give kind of a, like, what was really going on versus, and of course we're hearing all the worst. We're hearing all the real, and that, that's the scary part, is there's just enough reality, and the reality is so horrific. I mean, you can't look at a story like Adam Walsh and not be terrified that this could happen. So they had valid reasons. I mean, it wasn't just, I mean, to be fair, the satanic panic didn't seem to have any really.
Yeah, there was never any actual victims for that. So the whole idea that children were being abducted and sacrificed or put into satanic cults, there was never evidence of that. Now, obviously, being abducted by strangers like Adam Walsh, there is evidence of that. It was very rare, which is why it became so sensational and all over the news, because it was so horrific and so shocking. It wasn't something people were thinking about. So when they hear it, they're automatically thinking, oh my God, that could have been my kid. It's like, yes, it could, but luckily there's not that many of those serial killers out there hunting children. So, I mean, there are, obviously you have to be very careful, but you know, there's a difference between being practical and being, you know, fanatically scared of everything. So you have
right. And it was really an unfair time to ramp up the fear. I mean, maybe you could argue it was a perfect time because we had latchkey kids, but then you were sending these kids home who were like terrified. Like, it was traumatic times for. And
see, what's weird is I was never afraid of strangers. I mean, I talked to everybody, you know, and there was so many times in my childhood where I should have been kidnapped. I mean, I don't know how many times I have gone into strangers' houses. They gave me a Pepsi. They gave me cookies. You know, I would walk here, and I was always walking by myself somewhere, and some sweet little old lady would invite me in, and I'd be like, "Oh, you have snacks," because I like candy, and she would feed me and send me away. You know, and it was all the time. So it was like I was a prime candidate to be abducted, because if someone had candy, I was in the van. So I was very, very lucky.
I don't think candy would have been the lure, but I think I was very easily intimidated by an adult and felt like I had to follow along with whatever an adult told you.
Oh, I never did. I always felt like I was on the same level. Like, well, plus like in school, because I had that whole thing where if I stood too long, I would get dizzy and black out. So when I would move to a new school and I would stand in that lunch line, I had the social anxiety of all the people, the smell of the food, and then standing there, and I would start to get hot and feel like I was going to black out. Happened every time. So every lunch, I went to the nurse's station. Then I ended up eating with the teachers when all the kids were at recess. So there I was sitting with all the adults ever since I was little and just having conversations like we're all the same. You know, it was just like, and then like when I would go in the bar to get my dad, my mom would send me in because religious people don't go in the bars. Little kid, I'm just looking for my dad's cowboy boots. You know, I'm looking at all the feet. I would see my dad at the bar. He'd put me on the bar stool, get me a root beer. They'd give me a pickled egg. You know, everybody'd come and pat my head and hang out, and I'd just be playing pool, you know, with all the old people.
That's funny.
They never, it never bothered me. It just, you know.
And I don't know if maybe that was because I did come from
teachers.
Yeah, I came from teachers, so you were expected to, you know. So it makes me wonder if I would have had the pluck or whatever to say, or even would even follow my gut instinct, because I think I would think, well, they're older and they must be. Yeah, I don't know. That definitely. Now my daughter does not have that. My daughter would have told. Well, I told my daughter from a very young age, drop to the ground and scream. No matter what's happening, drop down and just make dead weight, be dead weight, and just scream. Because they're probably going to give up if you're just
true.
You know.
Well, it's interesting though the different ways, because like you said, with you having your parents being more of an authority with teaching and stuff, you would have that respect for, you know, you would put yourself in a different situation. You're the student, they're the teacher, so they know what's best. And for me, being the youngest child, being the baby, being spoiled, I always expected everybody to, you know, I was like the mascot. I was everybody's little mascot. They took me everywhere. It was just like I was expected to. They would sit me on the table, they would give me candy, and then they would, you know, they would act like whatever. They would just, I was a toy, and they would just feed me and play, you know, let me play games, let me play with their puppy. You know, everybody treated me good, and I expected everybody to be nice to me. I would not have known what to do if somebody was mean to me or did something weird. You know, I wouldn't have known. I don't know what I would have done, because everybody was just always the way they were supposed to be. So I was lucky. I was very lucky.
It is really interesting that how you were raised, you know, does. I mean, we saw with John Wayne Gacy, he knew the kids to take who would be lured by a place to party, by you know, drugs or alcohol or a lot of money, because they did come from money. And it's like he knew exactly what to feed into, that they would overlook the red flags.
Yeah, he knew their weaknesses. I mean, he just did.
Yeah, and I think that is interesting. Because you might even have an argument for how many kids, while not maybe abducted, were abused.
Oh, yeah. Now that's got to be astronomical. Plus, there's so many that never talked about it. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's just, they just kept it to themselves. Even to this day, they still haven't told anybody, because they carry that shame with them. Like, they did something wrong, you know, like it would be too embarrassing, or they don't want to humiliate a family member or whatever. But I can't imagine the amount of abuse that went on.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually,
so that would be a whole nother, like,
yeah, because it wasn't so much stranger danger that was the problem. It was the people in the house. It was the people you knew. So it was the people that were trusted. Those were the ones that had more access. Strangers didn't have as much access. Plus, strangers also had to decide and figure out what to do. I mean, they might have had ideas about what they wanted to do, but what do they do with the kid afterward? I mean, I don't care how big a kid is or small a kid is. It's hard to hide a body. And there's people around. So it's like they had to decide, what am I going to do with them? So that makes it complicated. But if it's someone that knew you and they could groom you, they didn't have that problem to deal with. So I'm sure the statistics are astronomical, if they could even get them.
Well, I mean, we've already, like, abducted in plain sight.
I'm outside your window, Kathy.
Oh, thank you. I knew you were going to do that. Evil, evil, evil. Now I can't look. I can't even look. Well, that now that Vin has scared me into having to leave my office because there's going to be someone staring in my window. This is Vin's new way of getting us to wind up now. He'll just throw out there's somebody outside my window. Like, I gotta go.
That tap, 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 tap.
Gotta go. But that is our statistics. So, we're gonna keep hounding you guys for your memories of growing up. This is for all of us to chit chat about what we remember. What were your parents terrified of? What were your parents telling you could happen if you were not home before dark?
And did you guys ever, were you in school with a kid that ever just disappeared, that ever got kidnapped? I can't think, well, besides my cousin, but that was a little different. I don't know of anyone that was taken.
No, I don't either.
I wasn't taken.
And actually, when you think about that, that's a really valid point. Just out of the sheer numbers they were reporting, you were bound to know. I don't even remember the kind of a friend's cousin was taken. I don't even remember those stories. I don't.
Yeah, because people would have been putting out, missing child. They would have, because anytime there's a situation like that, there's posters everywhere about missing, like they did with the boys that we've talked about. So do any of you guys remember that? Because I don't remember, as many places as I've lived, I don't remember ever knowing someone. Now, I have seen posters randomly before, but I don't remember ever knowing anybody in school that was missing.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, just by law of averages,
1.2 million, surely some of us would know somebody.
So very interesting, but this is kind of a short one. This is kind of a regroup. We're actually going to go into another it's stranger danger in a more we're heading into the world of the unlucky world for prostitutes next week. So and this was actually a recommendation from our friend Missy. It's Arthur Shawcross, who I had never heard of. So when Missy mentioned that we should do it, and this guy is a wackadoo. We keep thinking, can we up our wackadoo-ness every time? We
have upped our wackadoo. Now, that name is really familiar to me. Where was this guy? Where did he live?
New York. So actually, this is Missy's recommendation because this person was in their town.
I don't know why that name sounds familiar. I'm sure once I look it up, I'll recognize it because I try to watch.
Yeah, this one's a messy. Like I said, every time this is a terrible case. This is the worst. Last week it was just the sheer numbers. I think probably all of us have heard of John Wayne Gacy, but even though I've heard the story many times, when you start really thinking 33, and that's probably a low end. So again, that was the mind-boggling thing, even though it's a story we've heard, just thinking about those things. And but this time I really didn't know this story. And this guy's he's a creep. He's a big old creep. So that will be an interesting one, and then we will go from there. I think we did pick our next one, but I can't.
You sent it to me, but I don't remember what that next one was after.
Yeah, so I know we have this month all sorted out. We're trying to keep ahead so you guys can have some ideas about what we're doing. But that doesn't matter, because even if it's something you don't want to hear, you're still going to come, watch,
Because you're
subscribe.
so supportive.
You're so supportive, and we need your support, and we love your support. And, and I am doing this way late and a week later than I should. But Shelly, you sent me snacks. You sent me rice crackers, and they have been awesome. I'm still snacking on them. This is a huge bag, girl. You sent me a huge bag, which makes me very happy. But anyway, I just want to thank you.
She sends awesome gifts.
Shelly's the best. So very appreciative. Sorry I didn't think of that way back on John Wayne Gacy, but we were trying to remember all those facts and we were geared up to go. So this one's a little more laid back. This is more of a reminisce and what the heck were they trying to feed us back then? Like the statistics, the math don't math in the 70s.
We don't math, so there you go.
I definitely don't math. But this is kind of a short one. But I think there's a lot you can share with us about what you remember, what statistics you heard. I really would. Vin asked a really great question. Do you know anybody who went missing? I don't even really know anybody who was like a long-term runaway. Like, somebody that the parents had to go find. Like, I know we had the I'm mad and I'm going to take my stuff and leave runaway, which was like, you're gone for the afternoon.
I've never, like, none of my cousins ever, there was never that one person in our family that just disappeared and was never seen again.
Mm-hmm.
That's just so bizarre to me that, I know it happens, but I don't think it happens that much. Do you guys have any family members that just up and disappeared and you never saw them again?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So that's ours tonight. I think, again, send those stories, go to Substack. I mentioned it before, but I think we'll aim for spooky season to get the book club started. But the book club is on. It's just getting that set up so that I'm getting all the stuff to you guys when we start moving on it. And Spotify, if you're in the car, safer, better for your phone because you don't have to have the screen on. I can attest to this because I try to listen to YouTube in my car and I get to work and my phone's dead and I don't know, it's not good. So Spotify, we're getting I am getting those up slowly but surely. I'm going to try to get up this month's all at once so that you're getting, and those release every Monday morning bright and early. So those are for oh no, is that Tuesday morning? No, it's Monday morning.
I don't know. Because
we have the short on Tuesday night, Monday morning Spotify. And it is very early. We do that one at 5 a.m. for people commuting. If they want to have it ready.
Kathy does that. I don't know anything about it.
I don't do it very well, so bear with me. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Email us. Please email us your stories. I know some of you really like to put it in the comments, but not a lot of people are going to see that. But if you will email it to us, then we can talk about it in the next, whenever we have, listener tales, and then we can actually have a discussion about it. But if you just put it in the comments, it kind of gets lost and people have already read it and it's not really something that we can spotlight. So please email us.
Yes, email. And I haven't been answering people to say I've got the emails, but I will start just sending a little got it, just so you know we have it. Again, I'm trying to categorize everything so that we can do like, abduction stories or alien stories. And that's another one. We brought up aliens before. Do you want us to do aliens? Because there are certainly a lot of alien stories in the 70s and 80s that do not include Zethra and whatever.
So email us all of your alien stories because I want to know them. I want us to do one all about, anybody that had any experience with aliens. And don't worry if you think somebody's going to think you're crazy. It does not matter what anybody thinks. Crazy things happen, okay? We don't know.
Well, and we've already established our generation was crazy. Gen Xers are crazy, but that's why we're so fabulous. So yes. Send. And that will be, the email is always in the show notes for the episode. So, all right, this is a short one, but Whatever. But yes, we will see you next week with Arthur Shawcross. So check it out if you want to beforehand, or be surprised.
Be surprised.
Be surprised. All right. See you next week.